I'm Valerie.
I'm Jay.
Welcome to the Tailor-Made Workshop.
Today we're installing some overhead ceiling mounted garage storage shelves. We got too much crap and not enough places to put it, and you know, she wants her wood shop. So we thought we'd make a quick video on how this thing goes together and how they are installed. But first, let's take a look at what comes in the kit and the tools required to put this thing up.
Okay, here's what came with our FlexiMount overhead storage kit. You have 4 shelf pieces, detailed instructions, a template for marking your holes where you need to drill. There are 4 corner pieces, extension pieces. You can go all the way down to 4 feet, I believe. The center pieces, and then the hardware that goes up against the wall and the ceiling. Then the ones over there are the ones that put the two shelves. They're each 2 by 4, which makes them easier to handle rather than a big 4 by 8 sheet all at once. You're going to make them 4 by 4 and 4 by 4, and then put them up and then put them together, which makes it work great.
Okay, so these are the tools that we used for this installation. They do give you an Allen key and a little sort of socket thing to screw the nuts down. But you know, if you've got better tools, you know, we went ahead and used our good tools for all of that. So you know, we toss those aside. So what we've got then is we've got 2 drill motors. We've got an impact drill and a regular drill motor that we use to sink the lag bolts and drill the holes that we needed for that. We've got a square and a ruler to make sure everything was lined up properly. Obviously you need a ladder, and the higher your ceilings are, the taller the ladder you're going to need. We do have actually multiple ladders here, so we use those as well. Used a hammer to mark some things into the drywall where we needed to create some room. Then in place of the socket and Allen key that they used, I've got an Allen key. This is a number 5 Allen key that goes on the end of a socket. I've got a 1/2 inch socket in a 3/4 inch drive as well as in a 1/2 inch drive. I've got an socket attachment for my drill motor, an extension, and then a couple of drill bits. This one we use to drill the holes for the lag bolts, and then we used a bigger one just to clear out the drywall because we're sinking in the back of the drywall, and where the nuts go they would have pressed into the drywall. So to open that up, I just used a bigger drill bit to, you know, get rid of the drywall and not drill into any wood. So that's the tools that we use for this job. So if you need these, you know, if you have these, great, they're going to make your life a little bit easier. But worst case scenario, what you need is, you know, a drill bit, and then their sockets and bolts and stuff like that. So you can do it with what they provide, but this does make your life easier. So this is what we use to get the job done.
The instructions say to install the ceiling brackets, then install the legs, then assemble the shelves, but we've already put one up and we found a much easier way. First thing we're going to do is pre-assemble as many things as we can. So we're going to start with pre-assembling the shelves themselves. For installing the bracket that's holding 2 pieces together, I found that it was easier to put the 2 screws that hold them together first and then put this bracket on. You need, for each side of your shelf, you're going to need 6 screws and 1 mounting bracket. And I'm just putting everything in finger tight first. Then I'll grab my drill and use the motor to do all the hard work. Although I think the hard work is numb fingers trying to get the screw started.
And finishing it off with the socket.
Okay, our next step is to assemble our legs. But in order to do that, we need to know what size we need them to be. For us, we're measuring from the ceiling down to just above this garage door mechanism so that it clears it. That's 34 inches for us. So we know our legs need to be 34 inches. Okay, the legs come in two parts. This is the bottom part of the leg and this is the upper part of the leg. The upper part of the leg is going to sit on the outside of the bottom part of the leg because on the inside of the screw there's a little square notched out flange that will make the screw not spin when you try and tighten it down. There it goes. So we already know that we want ours 34 inches, so I'm just going to measure 34 inches, verify. For us, that was, I believe, 8 holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes. And you need 1 screw at each end of the upper part of the leg.
And yes, I'm going to do my part.
He's my assistant.
She's the brains, I'm the brawn.
She's just here for moral support.
Yeah, apparently the dog wants in the shot too.
Hi, puppy. Hello. Go inside, you'll be warmer.
She's dreamed of being a YouTube star for a while now. The dog, not the wife.
You know, say the dog is the wife. Hello, hello. Okay, okay.
Go lay down. Kaya. Come. You're such a good. Go on. Go lay down. You're fine. Go inside where you want. And the middle legs are similar, pretty much the same way. You've got squared out holes on the upper part of the leg and round on the lower. And there's the legs completed.
Okay, we know that we want the next leg to be at 48 inches. So I'm marking a line where the leg is going to go.
So now what we're doing is getting ready to install the ceiling brackets. And there's 6 of these brackets. Now if you're paying attention when we assembled the legs, you'll notice that we only actually did 3 of the corner legs. And that's because when we installed the brackets or the shelf mounts yesterday, we are leveraging the previous shelf mount or shelf bracket for part of this install. And so now we're only going to end up installing 4 of these instead of 6 because we've already installed 2 yesterday. Now the trick with these brackets, one of the nice features is that it spans 2 ceiling joists or ceiling studs, and which in our case are mounted 24 apart. The problem that you're going to run into is where your ceiling joists are hung may or may not align well with where you're trying to install the bracket. So in our case, we're trying to install it directly over the garage door, and we're trying to center it over the door and split it between the left side and the right side of the garage door. These ceiling joists don't necessarily line up exactly where we want them to each and every time. So you may end up having to offset the brackets, but you still need to be able to hit across 2 ceiling beams. So that's going to be kind of the challenge here that we're trying to work out. There's a number of different factors as well that play into this. For example, as Valerie was just saying, is we know the leg needs to be 48 inches apart. So we have to go from one leg 48 inches out and then another. And so that, again, may or may not line up where we need it to be for the ceiling joists. So that's what we're trying to work through right now, is figure out which 2 ceiling joists do we mount it to and still allow us to get the leg at that 48 inches mark. So that's what we're working through right now.
So I've written a line where the joist is, and then Jay's going to write a line where the other joist is on the ceiling. That way we know where we need to line up these holes. Oh, sorry. Where we need to line up these holes so that we can get the best bang for our buck. That looks pretty good, actually.
So we think we're going to go across these two ceiling joists, and then we should have a 48-inch mark coming
That's right.
out
That's right here.
right there from the other
But
leg.
that needs to be also.
Now here's where it gets a little tricky because you've got these essentially little bubbles where you can slide this thing a little bit, probably 1/4 inch either direction. But you've got to be able to have a bubble that's clear for putting the lag screw into the ceiling joist, as well as a bubble that's clear for where the 48-inch leg comes down. Now I'm going to go grab the camera. I'll bring it up here and show you a close-up picture of what we're talking about. Okay, so here's the line that represents the 48-inch mark from the left side where the leg has to come down. Here is the mark for our ceiling joist. Here's the mark for the other ceiling joist. Now you can see, here's my bubbles. So I've got to have a bubble here that's clear on the upper side so I can go the lag screw into the ceiling joist. But then I've also got to have a bubble that's clear where that leg comes down so I can bolt the leg to this bubble here and drop it down. That creates the challenges of where you have to hit all of these things, and then I still need to make sure I've got a bubble over here that's clear. So like this one is perfectly clear because I can sink a lag screw right into the joist without a problem. But you can see over on this side,
If we do it this way, it's not clear.
it's really tight. So here we got, so put it back there for a second. So here we got clear, here we got clear. Now you can see over here we do not. So that's where we have to kind of play around with this to figure out the exact right mounting
That's where it's going to have to be. It's going to be tight, but
to get this to work.
so.
So that's part of the challenge of installing these things, is just getting all your bubbles just right.
There we go. That's going to be
So you can
right
see-
on the line on both of those.
It'll be a tight squeeze. We can probably squeeze it just. Oh, okay. That's an interesting challenge here because we're on this edge on this one and we're on this edge on this one. So if we slide it either way, we lose one of the edges,
So it's going to have to be right here.
and so it's going to be
and
really
right here.
really tight. We may end up having to go back into the header wall on this one with
In a
one
different
of those
area.
bolts.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see if this works. So we're gonna try that right now. Okay, so I've got my cordless drill with a 7/32 bit in it. I'm gonna use to pre-tap the hole here for the lag bolt, and then I'll drill the other side as well. So that'll give me the ceiling joist for the bolt for the ceiling bracket. And then I'm going to open up this hole here with a larger drill bit, just clear away the drywall. I'm not going to drill into any wood. That'll allow for the bolt on the end of the nut on the end of the downward hanging leg to allow the whole bracket to sit flush. Make sure you're going into the wood ceiling or the wood beams, because if you're just hanging this thing in drywall, that whole thing, if you put any weight on it, it's going to come collapsing down on you. Okay, I've changed out my bit. I just picked a big bit. The size doesn't really matter because all I'm going to do is clear away the drywall here. Like I said, I'm not drilling into any wood. That should allow for this nut to sit in this little pocket that I just cleared out, so that I can then mount work. Through there. So it's going to sit like that. So let me grab my impact driver and the lag bolt and put those brackets in. Okay, so I've got the lag bolt, my impact driver with a socket attachment on there, and then a socket on the end to drive this up into the ceiling joist. Because trying to do this by hand would be a major pain in the butt. Okay, so what's happening is the bracket's up this way. I've got the drop light coming down here with the head of the bolt, and I've got this little flange or lip kind of coming up right here. I don't know if you can see that or not. Kind of got this this piece right here. And so the bolt is trying to go up right through here like this, and it's hitting this leg or this lip right here. So I need to flatten that piece out. So to do that, I've got to pull this apart. So here's the piece I have to flatten out. I got to flatten this lip out. Now, if I had my bench vise with me, which is over at my daughter's house right now, I would just pop this into a bench vise and use a little pressure. I don't have that with me, so I'm going to just kind of brute force it. Now I've got it flat. So now I can go back to my bracket and move the third one in. Put this back together. Again, square hole, bolt with a flange on the base. I don't know if you can see that or not, but that's going to just lock right in. Flip it over. There we go. Now my bolt should be able to clear right up in there, no problem. So let's go try and pop that in. Okay, so now I've got the center bracket installed, the down leg installed. I'm just going to snug them up by hand with the socket wrench just to make sure everything's good. And you want to listen carefully as you're tightening things down, because you might hear wood splitting and stuff, and that's a bad thing. So be very careful not to go too tight, but you got to make sure these things are snug so that they don't pull out. Okay, so now we're doing the far right corner bracket in the ceiling. We got a couple more challenges again. Just like we had on the center bracket, we got to get some bubbles lined up going into the ceiling joist as well as for the down leg. But then we also don't have a ceiling stud on that far right side because we got part of the garage construction is in the way for that. So we're going to have to go into the header on the far right side, into a ceiling joist on the left side, and then I'm probably going to use an extra lag bolt and secure that right side since we're not going into the ceiling stud. But that's, we'll work on that right now. The other thing that we've got to do is we now got to measure 48 inches over from the center bracket to get that part. So we're working on that now as well. All right, so I'm going to get Valerie the bracket, and we'll start marking out the bubbles.
We want it to be on the outside of where the leg is, correct?
So yeah, we're going to go in, but we're not going to go into the ceiling because we can't, there's no stud there, so we're going to go into the header. So if we put another lag bolt maybe right in here.
Okay. That's about halfway. That sounds like a good plan.
So once again, I'm going to clear out the drywall using the big bit. Valerie's already pre-marked that for me, so I know where that head is going to be. Taking out my drill bit to the 7/32. Okay, now the concerning part that I've got is when I cleared out this spot for the bolt, the header, I didn't hit the header like I did on the center one. So I'm a little concerned that I may not hit the header on either of these, so we're gonna check that out now. So I'm using a small drill bit because I don't want to create a big hole, just to see if I can pick up that header. So So back to the 7/32 bit. Now I can mount the bracket.
That's right.
I got my lag bolt, my impact driver with the 1/2 inch socket on there. And now I'm gonna just tighten them down by hand to make sure I get them nice and snug. So I'm gonna go grab the socket for that. Ideally, you always want to go into the ceiling studs if you can, because the force is going to be pulling down, and it's going to be much harder and much more stronger to pull down this way. By going into the wall like I'm doing, the force is now being applied this way, so it's not going to be quite as strong. So I'm using 2 actual lag bolts into the header plus 1 ceiling in order to secure this one. And this one on the right doesn't seem to be grabbing very well, so I may try and relocate it further out, because these 2 are grabbing really good. I can tighten them down all the way, but I really want a secure one on the right side of the leg as well, because if that's not holding very well, it could pop out. So I think we're going to be better off trying to relocate that. So I'm going to redo that one.
Oh, grab.
Yeah, that one's secured down. So now I know I've got 3 points of attachment that are securely in there. So this thing should be in there really solid at this point. Okay, so we have a really tall garage ceiling, and I don't have a ladder tall enough to allow us to get to the roof. So we're cheating here, and we're using the roof of our side-by-side as a work platform that'll allow us to get up here to the top and mount the 2 brackets in the center of the garage. So now we're using the brackets that we installed yesterday for the shelving on the left side to support the left side of the shelving on the right hand side. So we're now installing the downward leg corner bracket, and it should be right even with the garage door opener. So now Valerie is marking how far out from the other brackets it needs to come to. It needs to come 48 inches out. So she's marking where the ceiling joists are 48 inches out, so that we know where the brackets are going to go, so that we get those nice and square. And here, because we don't have the back wall to worry about, we don't have to worry about the bubbles on the legs being clear. They still got to line up so that your legs aren't cattywampus. But
we only have 2 bubbles we have to worry about, not 3.
right, so that line right there is, that line you've got marked right there, is that's the leg, drop down leg.
This is the drop down leg. This is the 4-foot mark.
They always say, you want to test how strong your marriage is, do a project with your wife.
We've been married almost 33 years, and this is not our first project.
And she's the much more detailed person in our relationship, so that's why she's doing all the markings, because if I do it, I'll screw it up. You want a screw anchored in on each side of the leg coming down. So 7/32 bit. I got my hole right there. I got my markings, so I'm just gonna go. So now all we've got to do is install the last bracket, and so I'm going to let her mark those holes, and then we'll get those installed, and then we'll be ready to hang the shelves and tighten them down.
Alright, I'll mark that too.
Okay, and that should be good. Now we can hang the shelves.
Okay, we are now installing the shelves. And remember those brackets that we used to attach each 2x4 piece of shelving together? We're going to go to the front and the back of your
Now these corner brackets have little clips on them kind of that allow you to rest it there. Now I'm starting with this one.
Because that's the one that can slip.
That's the one that can slip off.
Just exactly where I'm starting before it falls on my head.
Now these are using the same hex key bolts that you use to assemble the bracket of the shelves together. So I'm just using the hex key head to okay, and that's one shelf installed. Now let's do this last one. Tighten everything down and we'll be good. Now we're attaching the two shelves together. There's 4 bolts or so
Yes.
that attach the two 4x4 panels together. And we're done. So that's all the steps. And so here we are with 2 overhead shelves installed, which adds an enormous amount of storage to our garage and allow us to get stuff really out of the way, all of our camping gear and other miscellaneous decorations, holiday decorations and things like that. So pretty handy shelves, I think. So there you go, that's the installation process. I thought for the most part it went pretty well. I mean,
Pretty straightforward.
the second set went up a lot easier than the
A
first
lot
did.
faster.
A lot faster. We spent basically all day sorting through how to install these things yesterday and kind of figured out what the process was. So by the time we got to it today, it was, I think, a lot easier, a lot faster. Quality of the kit?
Pretty good. Instructions were iffy, kind of like, you know, the average instructions. You just there's not a person there to answer your questions.
So, I mean, I think it seems like it's a pretty decent kit. Each shelf, we put up 2 shelves, and each shelf is capable of holding up to 500 pounds, is what they say. Would I stick 500 pounds on there? I don't know. I don't think so. I would probably, you know, 350. You know, I don't know that I'd go a whole lot more than that.
Well, it was probably 300 yesterday when you and Dylan were both hanging on it.
Okay, well, you know, we probably got, you know, we got all our camp gear on the first shelf, and that's probably 300 pounds at least right there in that stuff with all the the chairs, the tents, the
Pots and pans, everything.
pans,
Yeah.
the Dutch oven and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, yeah, I mean, you know, 350, probably you're fine. I mean, you could probably get to 500. I don't know, maybe. But so I mean, I thought for the most part, yeah, it's a pretty decent kit. We got it on Amazon. They were regularly 185, and I found a coupon for 15 bucks, so they were 170 bucks a piece. So, you know, and that was about the going rate. I mean, you know, I found them on Lowe's and Walmart and other places and stuff like that for roughly that same sort of price, 180 to 190 bucks. So, deliver right to the front door.
Yep.
So, there you go. Thanks for watching. Any last tips and things you want to say?
It is a 2-person job. You definitely want to have a helper.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a 2-person job. You need somebody smart to mark the bottles for you.
Somebody patient.
So
Detail oriented.
there you go. You know, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. And you know, please consider subscribing. Valerie's got a lot more projects coming. This is really her channel. So she's going to have a lot of various woodshop stuff going on, right?
A lot of woodworking projects, DIY stuff. Yep.
She's the woodworker in the family.
Yes, I am.
So there you go. Thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Hi, I'm Valerie. This is my husband Jay, and I forgot what I was going to say. Hi, I'm Valerie.
I'm Jay.
Welcome to the
Tailor-Made Workshop. Yep.
We did that
Try
one
that.
the first time.
Yeah.
Okay, here's what came with our Flexi Mount kit for the shelf. Okay, for this part, we need 6 bolts with
Hex key.
1, 2. Okay, for this part, we need 6 bolts with the hex key head on them.